Thank you so much, everyone, for holding space and being here and allowing us to do a practice run. We'll be having a presentation on Sunday at the May Gathering at 1:40 in the gallery room, in the archives conference room. So if you love what you hear and you want to come back again, you can come and join us. It'll also be streamed to tell your friends and family that can't come to the May Gathering, they're welcome to watch from home. So the schedule is currently up online with the different time slots. So again, this will happen on Sunday at 1:40. You all know we have an amazing program here on campus where a year-long opportunity is presented to young adults who want to study Krishnamurti's teachings and be involved in the foundation on various levels. And I believe every one of us here has had the opportunity of meeting our current residential students, James Horvath and Rhett Walker, and that's who you'll be hearing from today. So we'll have the presentation, and then as we will at the gathering, after the first presentation, we'll open the space up for questions. This is actually an opportunity for them both to gather feedback, and their questions may inform how they finalize their papers. So this is the first run, kind of like the rough draft. And without further ado, we'll have James take the podium and share what he's written. Thanks, James. Oh, you guys don't need to hear me breathe.
Yeah, we do.
Make sure she's alive.
Is it a clip like here? All right. Well, I've only been here for 4 months, is what it says on the paper, but it's been less than that actually. But it seems like so much longer. And it really feels like I was a different person back then. I remember what it was like when I finally sent the email to apply for this program. I was really nervous. I'd been planning on coming down to the Krishnamurti Center since I was in college, and the thought of actually going through with such a big commitment was a little bit frightening. When I graduated back in 2016, my parents had offered me to buy me a plane ticket down here as a gift. Although they hadn't gone into Kay's teachings as thoroughly as I had, they had both seen a transformation in me after I first read the Book of Life and Revolution from Within when I was in my early 20s. So I'm truly grateful for them. And I still remember the card that they gave me when I graduated. It had a black and white picture of a lost dog in the streets of Florence in Italy. I don't know if the symbolism was intentional or not, but the more I look into it, the more that the metaphor reveals. That word Florence actually means to flower or to bloom. I was a lost dog at the time, and in many ways I still am. So I ask myself continually, what does that mean to be a lost dog in a place of flowering? And I ask that continually because learning, as Krishnamurti is pointing out, is a continuous movement. So what does that mean? Learning is a continuous movement. Well, as I see it, to learn in the deepest sense, beyond just accumulating data, but to see the truth without imposing any conditions upon it, demands that I first understand that I'm lost. I'm lost because nothing I've learned in the 30 years I've been alive has taught me the meaning of fear, understanding of love or the clarity of freedom. So it makes perfect sense to me, having been molded by so many years of formal education, that I should spend at least a year looking into a much deeper question: what is learning, complete learning? When that question is alive, there's a joy in learning. But I spent most of my life expecting joy to come through knowledge. In other words, I've been trained to continually become something other than what I am. But I think there's a learning in every moment of life, in the sounds of birds, in the blossoming oranges, and the ones that lie rotting on the ground. I think there's learning in the slow sun rising and the last light on the western skyline. There's learning in pain and in growth. There's learning in every sensation of the body and every thought of the mind which is full of its own sensations and reactions. Sometimes learning is infinitely subtle, and sometimes it flagrantly strikes me. Learning reveals itself, and that's what I mean by learning. Being here has given me the opportunity to learn in relationship with so many wonderful people. To me, relationship is possibly the most difficult thing of all. Since I arrived here, I've been looking as much as I can into the real meaning of relationship. This place has given me the time and the space to look into my own tendencies, which are also engulfed in the general human consciousness. How do I react to other people? How do I depend on others? How much do I really understand about another person? Can I really listen to someone without any judgment, without any motive? When I look at another human being, am I seeing a part of myself? And these questions come up when I'm working, they come up when I'm alone, when we're all sitting around at the dinner table at night, and practically any time through the day. As residential students, we also have the opportunity to explore and learn in relationship through several quote-unquote formal dialogues which take place throughout the week. Each dialogue may take on a slightly different topic and format and involve different people, but the basic premise is the same. We sit in a circle with the intention of learning together, thinking together, and examining our personal and our collective biases. It requires a great deal of patience, affection, and hesitation. And dialogue can be extremely frustrating at times, and incredibly liberating as well. It demands a great deal of perseverance and a willingness to look within oneself. As a resident here, I've been distinctly able to see how the dialogues can hold together and fall apart, and how the topic of dialogue itself can ironically become a topic of controversy and personal bias. In the remaining year, I hope that we can keep looking together at how we can create new fertile ground for inquiry and leave behind some of the stagnation which inevitably seems to arise in groups and organizations. I came here because I saw dialogue as one of the only ways to deal with the world's biggest problems, practically all of which can be traced back to our fundamental lack of communication and self-awareness. Perhaps I was a little bit more naive back then, and I saw it as sort of a magic potion in a way. Now it's becoming clear, more so, that there's no such thing as a magic potion, and dialogue itself is not a means to an end. The only thing I can do is to continually learn about the consciousness within me as it relates to the total human consciousness. And I'm not saying that out of cynicism, but as a realization that the responsibility to build a better world is the same as the responsibility to understand myself, my own desires, habits, prejudices. I feel that one of the greatest and most important challenges I'm looking at is something that Krishnamurti has sometimes referred to as negative listening. And when I say that, I'm not talking about pessimism. I'm talking about listening in which there's no good or bad, rejection or acceptance, condemnation or approval, denial or agreement, no evaluation, no judgment at all. And the more that I look into it, the more that I realize how fundamental these traits are in human thought and how much they interfere with any kind of actual fulfillment. Modern education is built on assessment, and in a way, so am I. So to understand myself, to understand judgment and be free of it, not even judging judgment in itself seems like a huge demand. And it is, but letting go brings its own liberation. So life reveals itself when there's enough space. And I'm really grateful to be here at a place which gives me that space to explore. It's crucial that human beings, especially young people, are able to step outside and see the momentum of all the competition and all the acquisition in ourselves. Krishnamurti once said, "It is only when the mind is free of the desire to become something, to achieve a result, and hence free of fear, that it can be utterly quiet. Only then is there a possibility of that creativeness, which is reality." If I had to summarize what I'm learning during my stay here, that would be as close as I could come. And to me, that's not a recipe for passivity or repression, but instead, it's an invitation to explore everything I thought I knew with fresh eyes. Then the lost dog doesn't need to navigate. He's simply a tourist in a blossoming space. Thank you. Brett? Or should we do questions now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I enjoyed what you said and I appreciate what you said, but I think you must look up when you're delivering this. Your eyes are only focused on the lectern and not on the public, and it's the public that you're talking to.
Yeah.
So if you could kind of coach yourself in that thing as you're reading it, also projecting outwards and looking at the audience, because the eye contact is actually important. And I think it would help your delivery also, because it would raise the, it would raise the level of your voice somewhat. So I would work on those things between now and the event.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, the content is fine as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you for sounds very authentic, very personal, and also doesn't sound cliche or repetitive. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
I would add to that that I appreciate how vulnerable you allow yourself to be in front of everyone. I think it's also a function of the exploration that you're doing, that you're willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate how you get to the crux of the matter very fast. in your assessing learning is non-knowledge based. And to play with that movable thing is I like the way that you play with it and invite everyone to join you.
Anyone else?
I'm just curious, how was the process of writing that for you? Just in general, how was that?
Well, at first I just started writing, like, I wrote a whole paper that just kind of didn't make sense, and then I just had to like write a bad one, and then I just decided, okay, I'm just going to write one top to bottom and not think about it, and then, but actually in writing it, no, I wasn't really, it's just sort of, it's the act of writing, it's spontaneous.
And that exchange was completely different from me, because you were looking at him, you were talking to him, and your voice was also clearer, louder and clearer. So these things actually count, because it's not something that you've written for people to go away and read, it's something that you're telling them on that day, and that is it. So I'd just like to underline that point.
Yeah.
The exchange there was completely different from me.
Well, I wonder
When you were reading your text.
if there's a way to like raise the podium, because that's kind of this is or I mean, like, it's, yeah, that's the thing I have difficulty with, is like, yeah,
Right, you could say something, put your finger and then read and, kind of toggle between a bit of eye contact and even pausing for a moment to read what it is and share it, like, that might be some techniques or something.
yeah, or just having it further in memory too. I think that's another thing that helps.
We could hold up big flashcards for you.
Or maybe put an Oxford dictionary on top of the podium too.
There you go.
Actually, we do have dictionary stands, like where next to Michael is. I don't know if that would fit on the podium.
That's a good idea. The collected works.
But even still, even if it was prompted, you'd still want to raise your head above the paper, because there is something very, I want to see your eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe you could even put a note in there to look up.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Smile.
I thought it was really touching. Are your parents going to watch online, or are they going to be here?
They're not going to be here, no, but
Okay.
yeah, I guess they could see them online.
Well, your mom came here already.
Yeah.
Your mom's visited the center.
Yeah, she's been here.
Did you just have this sitting here, or did you have it clipped on?
Clipped on my shirt.
No, this one.
Just have that sitting.
Okay, that's cool. Let's leave it like that. Cool. Yeah, in case I want to walk around. It's true. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rhett. in reflecting on the theme of this year's May gathering, Insights into Education, I kept feeling the pull of inquiry into learning. As a residential student at the KFA, what does learning look like? What is learning, actually? Have I learned things through the program that I can speak about from a definitive place? I'm not so sure. It seems that the more I learn here, the more questions come up, and the more I sense that I don't really know. I am extremely grateful for this program and this opportunity to share with you what I feel that I'm currently learning, or just beginning to learn. So here it goes. It seems I'm beginning to see that true learning is not something done on a specific day or only at a specific time. Don't we normally think of learning as something that we partake in only when we're young? When we're inexperienced and naive? Do I normally think that learning happens only at a specific place? A classroom, a university, a workshop, or while watching a YouTube video? Do I schedule my learning in advance, mentally expecting learning to happen only in certain situations, like at a dialogue group? I wonder if we usually accept that learning stops at some point. There's a tendency toward the sentiment, I'm too old to learn a new way of living, or they're just stuck in their ways, or how about I've got my degree, now I can finally start my real professional life, no longer an unpaid student. Of course, if I want to learn a new skill, I have to take a class. Could we call that technical education? Technical learning? But what about learning itself? True learning? Learning about my relationship with others, learning about my relationship with myself, with my thoughts, and with all nature. Is that kind of true learning something that I do only to get something for myself? Will I accumulate more and more knowledge through true learning that someday I can stop, totally satisfied in a permanent state? Or is it possible that I'm learning as long as I'm alive? Right now, all the time learning, no matter what is going on. Not like, today I got angry, became violent, learned my lesson, and I will use what I've learned about myself to be nonviolent from now on. When I say I learned something and now I know it, I accept as fact the human invented concept of time, which inevitably leads me to think I'll learn more and more until someday I'll learn everything there is to know and have complete knowledge. No more surprises. Is that how we normally think of enlightenment? Is that what I'm hoping to accomplish after a year here? I'm also learning very clearly that my whole previous education in public schools and at university taught me to identify fully with my thoughts. Huge swaths of my personality and identity were forged in the extreme pressure of the classroom. Be a good student, behave, sit still, be quiet, work hard, hone your memorization, become a master analyzer, become good at using thought to solve problems. I personally derived a sense of pride and identity from being the best student and based my worth on perfect performance in all things, including trying to resolve my personal problems in this way. I've solved all sorts of technical problems in my years as a conventional student, math equations, multiple choice questions. I got really good at writing entire essays using a lot of words and saying nothing because I didn't actually do the reading. My problem solving, memorization, and analytical skills were constantly being evaluated, rated, rewarded or punished, and made to define who I am as a human being. The underlying message was that if I can't solve a problem, I'm a failure, I'm worthless, or I didn't try hard enough. And don't we all feel this way? We can't seem to change our bad habits, our automatic thoughts, our pain, fear, or depression. And that makes us feel even worse. Why is that? Why is this happening? To see the truth of the matter, someone points to learning to live in the unknown. Not just living in the unknown, but in the unknowable. I've learned so much over the years. I know so many things about the world, scientific facts, historical dates, parts of speech, but I'm just now beginning to learn the limitations of thought and thinking. I've been trained to use my thought for everything, to constantly be thinking of hypothetical scenarios, worst case situations, possible outcomes, and to run the gears of thought endlessly and constantly in pursuit of solving abstract concepts and problems such as, do people like me? Why can't I stop doing XYZ? What's the solution to the world's problems? How can I get rid of fears? How can I prevent fear from standing in the way of authentically expressing myself? Now, for the first time after 34 years, I'm learning that thought can never solve these problems. And actually that my thought, busying itself, trying to solve these problems, turned out to be very good job security for thought, even though it's not getting anything accomplished in this psychological realm. This process of endless thoughts about thought seems to emanate from a center in my mind, also known as me, my personality, my identity, myself, the ego, the psyche, my particular consciousness. And this self-center seems as solid and real as the back of my hand, even though it's just a bundle of memories, experiences, knowledge, and emotions. But can I learn to see this clearly in day-to-day activities? So what am I supposed to do if thought can only solve technical problems and makes my psychological conflicts even worse? Thought is all I know of. With all my daily actions, I think about what to do first. Now I wonder if the only thing that can actually do anything is action itself. And so I'm learning what action is. Is it possible that listening fully, with all one's senses, all one's being, is in itself a completely revolutionary action, and the intelligent action in most of our day-to-day experience? I'm learning that action is something wholly different from how I've thought of it my entire life. I'm learning that there may be action that doesn't come from my past knowledge, my experience, my thoughts. We don't know what it is, and what if I can't know what it is? To inquire into this, I'm learning to watch myself, my habits, my thoughts, my responses, and my thoughts about those thoughts and my responses to those responses. Perhaps most important, I'm beginning to see how we all have the same physical brain and a shared collective conditioning going back millennia. I'm learning how my depression is not my depression, and it is a symptom of the crisis in consciousness that we all share. Don't we all try to bring our thoughts to bear on our personal mental problems? We judge each other, compare ourselves to one another, and we all think we are something separate, special, autonomous, sovereign entities. Of course, each one of us is completely unique, and in that we're all incredibly special and sacred, and not just when we do something good. This sacred fact does not change if we have done bad things or made mistakes. I had an insight when I was at university that every person on this planet is a miracle as sacred as the sun and moon. I felt deeply that everyone comes into this world beautifully perfect, and our circumstances shape us. We are all essentially the same. If I was born in Washington, D.C., Palestine, or on Standing Rock Reservation, I would be doing the exact same things and in the same situations that people all across the world face. It's easy to judge others and blame people for their circumstances. Thought likes doing this because it insulates itself, protects itself, and maintains the artificial division that keeps us living in this virtual reality of complete identification with our thoughts? Is learning seeing this mechanism of thought in operation? And it's not accurate to say, I've seen it, so I'm no longer racist, nationalistic, sexist. This deep conditioning is always operating at some level. I'm learning that seeing something in this way isn't an achievement to be proud of or a ticket into an exclusive club of morally superior folks. It's just a way of looking, born from seeing the trick that the mind plays on us. I'm this, you're that. And learning never ends. It's a lifelong action. And here I say Happy Mother's Day to my mom. But it's not Mother's Day right now, so skip that. Can we observe our thoughts and feelings in this moment? Can we see them because they are there? And at the same time that we observe our thoughts and feelings going on, can we observe the fact that we are made up of the same elemental forces as a flower? We are somewhat cut off from nature in this room. We'll be in the conference room. But there are some fantastic photos of flowers all around. And we have the same flowers in here. A flower learns as it grows, learning, leaning, bending toward the sun. It pushes its way up through broken concrete and into a polluted environment of machines, tall buildings, artificial light, and noise. It is alive, full of the intelligence that powers the entire universe. The being we know today as a flower has learned how to be a flower over the course of millennia. And the flower is learning right now. Adapting and changing based on its conditions. It doesn't despair, even though it's the last flower on earth. It's as radiant and gorgeous as all others before it. Pure love available for anyone who happens to see it as it is. It doesn't worry about the future or lament the past. It's growing, learning, and loving. As long as it can survive, the flower is bringing all its energy to learning and beautifully expressing itself, active in every moment. A flower also needs the right environment to flourish, healthy soil, and nourishing water and sunlight. This is a beautiful place with an energy that is palpable. But I feel it is the people of the KFA in the broader K community, I probably should say Krishnamurti community, that cultivate such a supportive, special, and rare environment for the kind of inquiry that is so precious and crucial. I highly recommend this resident student program. It is sure to be a challenge at times, and learning is not always comfortable or pleasurable. But things have happened here that I couldn't have predicted. And if one is serious, one can learn a great deal here. Thank you. I try to incorporate some of the notes of looking up and projecting. I got the benefit of going second, so it was good.
We should have different lectures probably. You're okay with that one, but change these.
Right.